Namaskar viewers, hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I am Teena, you're watching Perspective. On the show today, we are going to talk about the big shift in how social media platforms will be held more accountable for what appears and spreads online. So starting the 20th of February 2026, social media companies will have just 3 hours to remove content which is flagged by authorities for violating Indian laws. Until now, that window was 36 hours. The tighter deadline comes into force under amendments notified by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology to the Information Technology Intermediary Guidelines and Digital Media Ethics Code Rules 2021. The government has also moved decisively to address AI-generated and synthetic content, including deepfakes. Under the amended rules, such content will now be treated just like any other information when it comes to determining unlawful activity online. Also, for the first time, the rules clearly define AI-generated and synthetically created audiovisual content, material that looks real or authentic but is actually created or altered using artificial intelligence. Importantly, routine edits, accessibility improvements and genuine educational or design work are not covered under this definition. So platforms that offer tools to create or share this kind of synthetic content must now ensure that they carry a clear and prominent label, and wherever technically possible, they're also required to embed permanent metadata or provenance makers to help trace where that content has come from. So in a sense, faster takedowns, stricter AI oversight and a stronger push for transparency in the age of deepfakes is what the rules determine. But what they mean for social media platforms and also for all of us who use these platforms every day is what we will try and understand from experts joining us on the program. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome Mr. Abhishek Singh, Additional Secretary at the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. He's also the CEO of the India AI Mission. Mr. Singh, always a pleasure to have you join us on the program. And I'm also pleased to welcome Mr. Amitabh Kumar. He's co-founder of Contrails.ai and a member of the Safety Advisory Board of Facebook. Mr. Kumar, glad to have you with us on this telecast as well. So the first question on the takedown to you, Mr. Singh. The takedown window has been reduced drastically from 36 hours to 3 hours, and that has garnered the maximum headlines since the rules were notified. What prompted the urgency behind this change that the ministry has undergone?
Basically the objective of these rules are to ensure that safety, security and trust in systems is established. And the way technology is expanding and the pace at which content spreads on social media, sometimes if some wrong is done, and if the content, even if it is taken off after 36 hours, the damage is done. If suppose we saw something what happened on Grok last month, wherein people were producing altered, morphed images of women, and it was like, and if such content is taken off after 36 hours still, but then the damage is done, and very often such content gets downloaded and then gets circulated on other platforms wherein it becomes very difficult to restrict it. Yeah. So to ensure that we restrict damage, we restrict user harm, to ensure that we protect women, we prevent child sexual abuse, we prevent antisocial elements from causing damage to communal harmony, to national security, it is essential that such action is taken in quickly and swiftly. And today's age, most of these platforms have actually AI tools with which they can detect such content when it is posted itself. But if they don't do that, and then if it is flagged and it's found to be violative of the rules and violative of the social norms, then it has to be taken down within 3 hours. So I would feel that ultimately it should evolve. We should evolve into a system wherein every platform behaves in a responsible manner and they don't allow such content to be uploaded. Like for example, most platforms, when we are uploading videos, they're able to immediately, before that video is published, if there's a copyright violation, they're able to detect it. So if they can do that, then there is no reason that in today's age and time, with the today's level of technology, they cannot detect such content which is AI generated, which is altered, which can cause potential harm. Why it should not be published only. So 3 hours is itself a reasonable time that the government has given, and hopefully over a period of time it can be further reduced.
That's right. It's been done with an objective to ensure that harmful content does not go viral and it does not cause irreversible damage. That's why the 36-hour window has been curtailed to 3 hours. But Mr. Kumar, in your perspective, how big is this shift, the 3-hour compliance rule, if you compare it to the global norms? But also from a platform perspective, what are some of the technical challenges that these platforms will now face in first identifying and then acting on the flagged content in a window of just 3 hours?
Well, it's a big change, and but like Sir said, in complete agreement with him, it is a change which was about to come. Deepfakes have been causing major mayhem for a while, and I think it's been 2 years that we at Contrails have been seeing it in the wild. For the platforms, the technical challenge is not really high, honestly speaking, because the technology that exists, this can be done in real time. Where the challenge comes in, it is a major investment, right? So you need to invest more in the technology. You need to put better AI, better experts in the loop. But the good part is that the community guidelines of the platforms actually do not allow this. So the platforms have been aligned. It's just the implementation part which was missing. But if people just go back a little bit in time, 2024 January, during the congressional hearing, Mark Zuckerberg and all the other CEOs agreed that there needs to be a clear law, a clear standard. And I think what Sir and his team has come out with is exactly that, where the clarity is there. I think synthetic media has not been so well defined by any other law across the globe. I might be incorrect, but it is a welcome change. Implementing it will be difficult in the beginning. AI does not perform from day zero. It takes time. I'm pretty sure there will be grave mistakes made in the beginning. There might be over censorship as well. These are things one can predict. Another small part about this is that about 80 to 90% of AI generated content can be detected. 10% of it, which is novel or video of a video, photo of a photo, there are technical difficulties. So this is what I mean by whenever there is change like this, there is friction, and that friction will come in that 10%. And I wouldn't be surprised if throughout March, we are seeing mistakes being made on both ends, from over censorship to unable to label content. But over 30 to 90 days, the implementation should be extremely possible.
Okay, let me ask Mr. Singh, because ever since the rules were notified, there were concerns, there was a certain pushback on at least the 10% labeling space that you spoke about, and we see that you sort of diluted that to visibility aspect. I have a question on that aspect as well, but if we talk about the 3-hour compliance window, have there been concerns from platforms about the technical capacity in complying with the 3-hour window?
No, I don't think so. Of course, whenever it comes to compliance, most platforms would not like to. But then the responsibility of the government is to ensure safety and security of everyone. Responsibility of the government is to ensure that while we promote technology, but we at the same time, we ensure that harm is not caused. And that is what we are. So we are allowing people to innovate. We have allowed for minor alterations, that is there, but anything that is harmful and that can cause damage, and we can just talk to people who have been affected by that. Or suppose there is a sensitive content that is created by using AI, and if that content can cause a communal violence, or can cause disharmony amongst groups of people, or can cause a law and order challenge, or can cause loss of lives or loss of property, that is something that nobody will not agree that should be restricted.
That's right. I think post these amendments, it's fair to say that these platforms will now not only be seen as passive intermediaries. They're going to be more accountable for the content that is being spread through their networks. Coming now to the AI labeling, Mr. Singh, the rules mandate clear and prominent labeling of the synthetic content. In practical terms, to help us understand better, what does good labeling look like so that users actually notice it and understand why it's there for? What's the purpose?
So, like a very simple concept when it comes to AI is the concepts of understandability, the concepts of explainability, the concepts of traceability. So, if we have to ensure that we can ascribe accountability in the whole systems, to ensure that we can actually, if a damage is being caused, we can identify who the person was who did that, then we will need to ensure that everyone who is creating an AI generated content ensure that he labels in such a way that and a normal user is able to identify that. So, for example, if I'm watching a video which is AI created, I would prefer to be informed that we are AI created, because the level which this technology has reached today, it's very difficult to distinguish for a common man who is not very tech savvy but is the large consumer of digital content. He should be informed that this is AI generated content. So, just like when you go to watch movies, if there is a smoking scene, there is a warning which is very clear and visible, and it tells you people that that smoking is harmful for health. Then you again, there are films that are made in which there are disclaimers which say that no animals were harmed in it. So everyone is aware of that. So this is what is meant by visible, which is understood by people, which is noticed by people, not something that you write something in fine print and make it go vanish so fast that people are not able to read it. So it has to be visible, it has to be understandable, it has to be communicated well to the end consumer, so that if I am consuming anything which is AI generated content, I will exercise caution in believing it, or I will double check with other sources rather than taking it as the fact and going ahead and doing something which might not be right, and then will make me accountable for a financial fraud or something. Suppose I see a video about sending money to someone, and this video is coming from somebody whom I know. Then if it's not AI labeled, I might end up losing money. Similarly, there can be so many other scenarios in which not labeling of content can be very, very sensitive, and this is a matter which is of prime concern to not only India but to all democracies. We have seen how deep fakes can cause a lot of damage during elections, how it can lead to misinformation, how it can lead to disharmony. So there is always a demand, and it's been debated at all levels, at all forums globally, that we need to come out with standards, we need to come out with frameworks which ensure that AI generated content is properly labeled and the people who are consuming it is made aware in what forms. India has set up example, and this may end up becoming a global benchmark when it comes to labeling and identifying what is AI generated content and what is not.
That's right. I think when it comes to keeping the viewer informed and letting them know what is the kind of content that they're consuming online, it's a benchmark that India has set through these changes. But just curious to know, Mr. Singh, what were the concerns that were raised because of which the 10% requirement was done away with?
See, the 10% is, again, it becomes very difficult to measure, and there were a lot of suggestions which are given that instead of specifying 10%, we need to make it in such a way that the purpose is served. The purpose is not to give a metric of 5% or 10% or 20%. Purpose is that we need to label it, and purpose is that anyone who is consuming that content should be made aware. So that is what the provisions has been done, because there are many representations which said that 10% might be too much for some cases, and in some cases it might be too little. So in order to make it balanced and fair, the benchmark is that it should be something that is visible, that is very understandable, and something that is very clear to the end user.
Okay, as long as the platforms are complying with this regulation, that's more important, especially if the objective is to keep the viewer informed and aware. Mr. Kumar, given that content is most often downloaded, we have people cropping it and then resharing it across various platforms. Only watermarking or metadata, do you think will it be enough, or we will have to keep evolving and thinking of newer ways to keep this in check?
Yeah, totally. I think you hit the nail on the head. We would need to keep on evolving, like Sir said, regarding the 10%. See, detection models are all probabilistic models. And for all mathematicians, having a probability of 100 or 1, as we want to look into it, is a mathematical anomaly. So there will always be more invention in generative models. That means new techniques will come, and it will be difficult. The good part is 90% of the users on the internet are actually good people, having fun and doing positive stuff. It's the 10% criminals, negative people, malicious content that is being spoken about over here. And we need to implement safety by design. This is a global crawl, and everybody's on board. It's great to see India leading the way. Contrails, which is an India startup, has been working on deepfake detection for the last 3 years. So Sir and his ministry has actually made the business case for us, and we would love to see this at scale. And this labeling has been asked not just in India, but it's being discussed in other parliaments as well. As I said in the beginning, the tip the tip of the arrow, right? The most complex, the most horrific criminals are also smart and putting a lot of resources on it. So platforms, the government, the public, the startups need to battle it with equal passion and resources, because some of the numbers that are coming out for financial fraud through deepfakes or medical misinformation or political misinformation, there is a lot of motivation to create these deepfakes. We need to ensure that they do not end up making money through platforms. So it's a complex problem. It will involve multiple stakeholders. MeToo has set the way. We all need to gather together and work on it. What we saw in Grok, where a platform is creating, distributing, and monetizing non-consensual intimate images of women and children, is something which is totally unacceptable. So I think as folks, we are all aligned. As technology, processes, and the investment, we would have to do a lot more hard work.
Let's hope that these measures do act as a deterrent and they help keep people safe. Coming back to you, Mr. Singh, we spoke about how it sets a global benchmark and it puts India in a leadership positions. In many ways, we see that these rules complement the broader vision of the India AI mission, which we often hear the Prime Minister talk about, that India believes in promoting AI innovation, but at the same time ensuring responsible use of these technologies. Through measures like these, how do you think we are positioning ourselves in a better place, in a better position, most importantly as a global leader, if I can say that, in shaping responsible AI governance? And it comes at a time when we are just days away from hosting the India AI Impact Summit. In fact, the rules come into effect on the final day of that summit.
Yeah, in fact, the objective is that to create examples and to ensure, give clear vision of how India looks at AI regulation, how India looks at promoting AI innovation. Our Honorable Prime Minister has clearly said that we do prioritize innovation over restraint, but at the same time, we do ensure that the legal provisions, the regulation, the rules ensure that AI is developed responsibly. We are all for leveraging AI for improving lives of people. We are all for promoting AI applications in agriculture, in healthcare, in education, in helping to improve manufacturing and bringing efficiency in supply chain logistics. But at the same time, what needs to be stopped is misuse of AI, and this is a dual use technology wherein it can not only be used for causing good, but it can cause user harm also. So we need to identify which are the areas in which it can be misused, and using AI to create content that can be problematic is one area. That is why both the things are required. One, labeling AI generated content, and in case it is found to be AI generated and it is found to come into the category of information that is causing any harm, whether it's promoting child sexual abuse or pornography or causing a risk to public order or national security, it has to be taken down. So those are the two measures which has been done, and it's very clearly aligns with our AI strategy, which on one hand is all for innovation, providing support to all solutions which are causing good to people, but at the same time restricting anything that can cause harm to individuals or to a group of people.
Mr. Kumar, what is your perspective on enhancing trust, public trust in these platforms? Because these are measures which are aimed at transparency, which are aimed at holding these social media platforms more accountable for the content which is being shared through their network. So in terms of strengthening the public trust in digital platforms, where would you rate these measures at?
Oh, it's extremely positive, and it was required as the industry matures. Actually, trust and safety also builds a business case for the platforms, because their advertisers do not want their ad next to child sexual pornography or abuse or hate speech. So it is in the interest of the platforms as well. Trust and safety has always been seen as a cost point, right? They calculate the amount of dollars spent per user. Now that number has to go higher in order to achieve this. So what we need to do, and this has to be done actually from the government side as well, is amazing reporting mechanism where clear, specific reports are coming, and not just from Delhi, but from the 760 districts of India. On the other side, the platform needs to create something to capture it and also create solutions and technologies which include the diversity of India, right? Because multiple languages, multiple people, different sort of content, multiple cultural sensitivities need to be kept in spirit. So we would have to take strides in building this technology. Overall, it's a great move. This change will be very uncomfortable on both sides. More work needs to be done, but it's a welcome change for the citizens. As somebody who's an entrepreneur, as somebody who works in India, I know what sextortion looks like, what digital arrest looks like, and how it damages lives. So what the government has actually done is responded to the pleading citizens, and the platforms have to respond to it. It's like almost drawing a line and a standard, and I think it was about time. For somebody coming from trust and safety from 15 years, I would say, why 3 hours? I would like to pull it down, but 3 hours is good enough to get started. I'm sure Sir will get a lot of feedback from the platforms, from the people, and we will improve this further, both on the regulation side as well as on the technology side.
I'm sure officials at MeitY are already, filled with suggestions on how to further improve the system. I recall the economic survey did mention how within just a year's time, we are talking about not AI potential, but the AI impact, given the massive scale at which AI adoption is taking place in each and every sector. And therefore, in terms of AI safety, we need to keep strengthening our ecosystem. What more can we expect on that front, Mr. Singh, in the coming days? Because it's a process, as you said, both of you rightly said in the beginning of the program, it's a process that will continue to evolve given the threats, but at the same time, we will have to keep our detection measures equally strong.
Like ultimately law and regulation has to catch up with technology. And what we have always provisioned in India is that there is our approach to regulating technology when it comes to tech, whether it's for Digital India, whether for data sharing, our Personal Data Protection Act, our these intermediary guidelines, has also kind of adopted what we call a techno-legal approach to regulation. On one hand, have sufficient legal measures which ensures compliance, but in order to ensure that we are able to enforce the legal measures, it's not sufficient to just pass a law and be done with it. It's important to have the necessary technical tools which allows you to ensure that a law is being complied in both letter and spirit. So this techno-legal approach to regulation is something which is at our forefront. That's why our DPDP Act, the Digital Personal Data Protection Act, is again regarded as a model law, much better than what other geographies, especially the European Union and other geographies, have. Even in the DPDP Act, the whole act centers around consent. Like when I'm using a social media platform, when I'm sharing a personal information there, and very often photographs, individual photographs amount to be in the category of personal data, then I'm sharing it to an intermediary for a particular purpose. I am not giving my consent for the algorithm or the platform to use any tool to alter it or to modify the photograph without my information or knowledge. So it also leads to a violation of the provisions of DPDP Act, where the penalties are much more stringent. The penalties in the intermediary guidelines will step in one, wherein you are required to take down that content, but the provisions of DPDP Act, and these provisions, as and when they they come into force, will make the platforms liable, wherein penalties of up to 250 crores will be imposed, and further action will be there, and criminal action will be initiated. So the way we have approached limiting these harms or restricting these harms is to ensure that sufficient legal provisions are there and arm the regulatory authorities with the necessary technical tools so that we are able to actually ensure compliance and protect citizens who are online or protect citizens who are using social media platforms so that they can use it for the purpose for which they have signed for, and not for being cheated or not for being harassed by antisocial elements.
Absolutely. I think once these measures come into effect, it should be the right moment to say that responsible AI is no longer a principle that India is adopting. It's a regulatory measure which aims at protecting the citizens online. Time allows us to take up only that much, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us with your thoughts and views. To you viewers, thank you very much for your time as well.
To watch more programs of Sansad TV, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to like and share them.